Good evening, Namaste viewers. This is Srinivasan Anand G, Chartered Accountant, and I would like to bring out the various benefits extended to the small and medium enterprises in today's union budget. The limited liability partnerships have a good news. The good news is that many of the offences in the Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008 will be decriminalized. But LLPs have also a not so good news, which is that the 44 ADA presumptive taxation scheme applicable to professionals in Section 44 ADA of Income Tax Act, where gross receipts does not exceed 50 lakhs, the presumptive taxation scheme has been clarified. It is proposed to be made applicable only to individuals, HUFs and partnership firms, and LLPs are proposed to be barred from availing the 44 ADA presumptive taxation scheme for professionals. Now, this particular section was introduced in the Income Tax Act by Finance Bill 2016. The explanatory memorandum in the Finance Bill 2016 clarified that LLPs will not be eligible to avail the scheme. However, the text of the section contained no such bar. It only said resident assessee. That's it. It didn't say that LLPs will be barred or what kind of resident assessees will be eligible for it. It didn't say any such thing. So obviously, when the text of the provision and the explanatory memorandum are at variance, it is what is there in the law which will prevail. The explanatory memorandum is not a statutory material. It's at best a clarification of the aims and objects. So when there is a variance, naturally the provisions which are there in the text will prevail. When the Finance Bill got passed as Finance Act 2016, at that time, what was clarified in the explanatory memorandum to Finance Bill 2016 was not incorporated in the text of the provision when it was passed. So that lacuna has now been remedied by making it clear that only resident assessees who are individuals, HUFs and partnership firms will be entitled to avail the presumptive taxation scheme for professionals. It looks a bit odd that they have mentioned HUFs over there, because I don't see many professionals practicing as HUFs. But be that as it may, LLPs have been barred, and this amendment comes into force from assessment year 2001-2022. However, the explanatory memorandum to the Finance Bill 2021 says that this is meant to be retrospective from day one. The logic they are saying is that LLPs are required to maintain books of accounts. So if you are required to maintain books of accounts, you cannot avail the presumptive tax provisions by saying that I am not maintaining books of accounts and I am offering on the basis of the deemed percentage of 50%. You cannot say that. There's a certain amount of logic in that, because you cannot say I am maintaining books of account for one particular legislation and deny that you are maintaining books of account for another legislation. However, I think that this provision cannot be given retrospective effect. This amendment cannot be given retrospective effect. We shall take a look at what benefits the union budget today has extended to the small companies and one-person companies. Now, small company is defined in Section 2, Clause 85 of the Companies Act 2013. And the definition says that the paid up capital should be not exceeding 50 lakhs. However, the central government is empowered to raise the limit by notification, and it can be raised up to 10 crores. Now, similarly, the turnover limit is 2 crores, but that can be raised by the central government by issuing a notification to 100 crores. Now, today's union budget speech says that the limit will be raised from 50 lakhs to 2 crores and the paid up capital limit will be raised from 50 lakhs to 2 crores, and the turnover limit for small companies will be raised from 2 crores to 20 crores. Now, there is no amendments proposed to Companies Act in the Finance Bill. The reason being is very simple. The central government is empowered by Section 2, Clause 85 of the Companies Act to increase these limits by issuing a notification. And this could have happened even outside of the budget, but only thing is that they announced it through the budget so that it gets more mileage. That is what appears. Now we come to one-person companies. This one-person company was actually an innovation introduced by the Companies Act 2013. Prior to 2013, one had to have at least two members to incorporate a company. Single person cannot incorporate a company. That was the position before 2013. Now, to enable innovators to quickly get going, this concession was made that one person can incorporate a company. Now, the definition in section 262 mentions that there has to be only one person. It does not say that it has to be a natural person, much less that the person should be a resident Indian citizen. He must be resident in India for 182 days. All these things have come through the rules issued under the Companies Act. All these restrictions which are not there in the text of 262, the definition, and also section 3 of the Companies Act 2013, which allow incorporation of one-person company. Nowhere has it been mentioned that the person incorporating a company, the single person incorporating the company should be an individual, much less that he should be an Indian citizen, much less that NRA cannot incorporate, much less that the person should be resident for 182 days. All these things are prescribed by the rules issued, Companies Incorporation Rules 2014. Now one can challenge these rules as being ultra vires a section. When basically rules are delegated legislation, and the act is a supreme legislation. So rules should stick to the text of the supreme legislation. Unfortunately, for whatever reasons, the rules went ahead of the act. When the act does not lay any restrictions, why should the rules impose it? Fortunately, these rules which have been imposed, these restrictions imposed by the rules which have no sanction in the act are now going to be removed. So there will be no restriction on paid up capital and turnover. Hitherto the restriction is only 50 lakhs paid up capital should be there, and turnover should be 2 crores or less. These limits will be removed. The one-person company can have any amount of paid up capital and any amount of turnover, however high. It will not be obliged to convert itself into another form like public limited or private limited. Allowing conversion to any other company, type of company at any time. Hitherto, the rules laid down the restriction. Mind you, these restrictions were not in the act. The rules laid down the restriction that unless 2 years have passed, you cannot convert from from OPC to private limited or public limited unless your turnover limits were exceeded. Now that restriction laid down by the rules have also been done away with. The NRIs were hitherto not allowed to incorporate one-person companies as per the rules, but now that restriction has been done away with. Hopefully this will enable more startups to come up and more innovations to take place, and it will boost enterprise. So all these things, again, all these proposals do not find any mention in Finance Bill for the simple reason that these can be done by the central government by amending the rules, by issuing notification. They don't require any amendment to any provisions of Companies Act 2013 to give effect to these budget proposals. I'm wondering, or one wonders why these things which could have been done by amending the rules, why those notifications have not been issued today itself, and why, for what are they waiting for to issue the notifications after the amendments? First of all, the professionals who are availing the presumptive taxation scheme under 44 ADA of the Income Tax Act, gross receipts less than 50 lakhs or less in a financial year, they would be in for a disappointment in that LLPs are no longer eligible to avail 44 ADA. the amendment clearly mentions that the resident assessee must be an individual or a HUF or a partnership firm. Now, this will pose problems for limited liability partnerships because while the LLP Act contains provisions which can seamlessly convert a partnership firm into a LLP or a private unlisted company into an LLP, there are no provisions to seamlessly convert a LLP back into a partnership firm. It is a one-way street. Conversion to an LLP from a partnership firm is a one-way street. You can convert a partnership firm into an LLP, a traditional partnership firm under Indian Partnership Act 1932, into a limited liability partnership seamlessly by availing the conversion provisions in the LLP Act. But once you convert yourself into an LLP, you can't revert back to partnership firm. That provision is neither to be found in the LLP Act nor in the Companies Act. So the better approach of professionals would be to practice through a partnership firm initially when your gross earnings are not much, and once your gross earnings exceed 50 lakhs, you can convert into limited liability partnership if need be by using those provisions in the LLP Act 2008. The second thing that affects the small businesses is Section 44AB. In the previous Finance Act 2020, there was a concession given in the matter of tax audit in Section 44AB. That is, if gross receipts if your gross receipts do not exceed or turnover does not exceed 5 crores, then you can be exempt from tax audit without having to declare 6% or 8% of your receipts or turnover as per Section 44AD. You can be exempt from tax audit, provided you transact 95% of your receipts and payments through cashless means. Now, this turnover limit of 5 crores has been enhanced to 10 crores, is proposed to be enhanced to 10 crores in this Finance Bill 2021, which is a very salutary thing. The logic behind extending this kind of relief is that since you are transacting 95% of your receipts and payments through cashless means, the income tax department has a clear audit trail, and that makes it easy to verify the accounts if at all they want to scrutinize it. So this is a welcome thing. But there is another not so good news, that if the turnover exceeds 10 crores, then the business will have to deduct TDS at the rate of 0.1% from purchases from any party in excess of 50 lakhs during a financial year. And if the supplier does not if he does not give his PAN number, then the rate of TDS will be 5%. Now one is at a loss to understand that why this kind of a compliance responsibility has been imposed on an entity whose turnover exceeds 10 crores immediately. Because as per the MSMED Act, up to turnover of 50 crores, 50 lakhs, up to a turnover of 50 crores, a company, an entity is treated as a small entity. 5 crores to 50 crores is small entity, and up to 5 crores is micro entity. So why micro enterprises and small enterprises should be saddled with this kind of an obligation? The problem is that the turnover limits for various purposes need to be rationalized and made uniform. I hope this will also be considered when they actually pass the Finance Act. Then there is a very good feature, 245MA, Dispute Resolution Committee. There are a lot of this will benefit the small and medium taxpayers who file income tax return showing not more than 50 lakhs income and whose dispute is not more than 10 lakhs. For them, this will be a very big boon. Actually, this is this Vivad Se Vishwas, which was brought last year. It is a one-off scheme and it has a finite end date. But this is an on-tap scheme that dispute resolution committee, the matter can be taken up and it can be resolved, and the various guidelines and notifications will be issued to clarify the aspects of the scheme. Then we can have a look at it in great detail. But on the face of it, it looks a very good scheme because it enables expeditious settlement of disputes and it will benefit small and medium taxpayers immensely. Thank you.